Alright, so we got notes. So this has been a build submitted by Boomstick. He says it's a vampire monk going forwardly for a solo build, 2-weapon fighting, hand wraps using spells to self-buff, and AoE crowds using key attacks in between spells to conserve spell points. Most using Fire Dark Fire combo to get the crit finisher. This will be my third life. Another thing I'd like to look on this, lock in on this build is being centered and using hand wraps. Open any other changes as long as I can punch things. As undead, also Eldritch Tempest Spinning Kick is too cool not to use. I'd also like to get more PRR, MRR, if possible, to help the Death Aura and Vamp procs get more opportunity to self-sustain. First time using this builder tool, so if there's any windows missing, my bad on that one. Yeah, absolutely, I can definitely help you out with this. This sounds like a great experiment into a couple things. So yeah, for sure, I'd love to take a look into this. Okay, so there are already some things I have ideas about. I'm just gonna dump in this. Also, there's build points available. So, points in, because you're a 36-point build. Yeah, let's take a look at some of these things. So, a couple things you need to note. Also, good morning, Mist. A couple things you need to note about this. You've got... this is an intelligence-based character, which is not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. If you're playing as a... Even if you're playing as a monk, you're playing as mostly a wizard, intelligence is the most important thing here. But, however, not just is the intelligence important. You're also going to possibly want some wisdom. If you want to do any of your monk stuff, that's kind of necessary. Wisdom is also good for getting like additional defensive stats as well, which is kind of nice, and also depending on your stance. Dexterity is also necessary for getting all your 2-weapon fighting feats. And the cautious thing about strength is just remember, if your character is burdened, you lose your stance. So just keep that in mind when you look at a strength like this. So I will probably look at some of this, but I want to look at your leveling process first and some of the other aspects. So this character grabs insightful reflexes, but you've already got a pretty high dexterity. You also don't need to start with the 17 because you have the tomes. So I would immediately dump this down to a 15 right away to give you some points back because you already have the tomes. In fact, if you just take 2-weapon fighting at level 2, you can dump this down to a 14. So if you just swap in and put precision here instead. Put precision here. Oh, whoops. Wait. Why can't I take precision? No selection? Oh, because it takes base attack bonus 1. You do like dodge, and then you use 2-weapon fighting here. And then you take precision down here. Just by doing this little bit of a changeover, this allows you to put your dex down to a 14. And then instead of having dex, you can bump up your other stats. You can have more con if you want. You could grab more wisdom and have like a 14 wisdom, so you actually have more defensive stance and you're more defensive all around. Some bonuses to your saving throws, same amount to armor class. In fact, actually, it's even higher into your armor class. You can start with more strength if you wanted. You can start with more con, but you have some flexibility there, which is kind of how I would do that as a bit of a change. Path of Darkness is fine. You don't need Fists of Light, especially if you're playing as like a Necromancer type character, so that seems perfectly fine. Monks are so unique, lose to the devs give them better defense options. I mean, they have good defense options. They are missing magic resistance rating. That's what a lot of people get stressed out about. But other than that, they're fine. The precision, toughness, and then you got to take the 2-weapon fighting feats that I got rid of. Improved critical is good. Master Reforms is great. So that's a good one to take. You want to take Grandmaster Reforms, but instead you grab the greater 2-weapon fighting here, which is a better feat. I'm assuming that for stances, you would probably, because there's no intelligence stance, you'd probably play an Ocean. If you're playing as an Ocean, that dumps your strength down, so you really want to keep that strength up a little bit. Because the Ocean gives you way more defense. Are stances enabled? It's here, I think. Oh, Wind Stance. So Wind Stance gives dexterity. It gives double strike with weapons. So basically, you get 12% double strike from Wind Stance versus getting 8% dodge cap, 12% dodge, 4 wisdom, which is armor class, and +5 to all saves. The problem is, the dexterity doesn't do anything. You don't use dexterity to hit damage. You don't use dexterity for, reflex saves. So the extra dexterity doesn't help you. The enhancement bonus to a melee and thrown speed is cool, except you cast haste, which overwrites that. So it's just 12% double strike. And 12% double strike is nice, but is 12% double strike better than 12% dodge, 8% dodge cap, 4 wisdom, and +5 to all saving throws? And it isn't. So I would heavily argue for Ocean Stance as opposed to Wind Stance. Because I think that's going to be a much better stance for you overall. By a mile. So with that being said, again, I think that's where the best stance is to go. Because again, 12% double strike is cool, but just think about that: 12% double strike, so you deal 12% more damage, or 12% dodge. Monsters hit you 12% less. I would much rather get hit 12% less than have a little bit extra dodge, considering this is more of a self-sustained type character. Also, it's important to note that you probably won't be taking, because of the leveling path that you've decided upon here, you probably won't be taking the undead form till 15. And so you're basically just playing as a monk until 15. And the main reason is that the undead form, you don't want to take it until you get access to the death aura as well as the negative energy burst. So you're a bit behind on that one, but that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Mental toughness is fine. You don't need necromancy because your character is not doing spells for damage, because you won't have enough DCs to do that, especially if you focus on like the physical stats. That's not that big of a deal. Wellspring of Power is perfect for snapshotting, so I do like this. Master of the Dead is interesting. So your character has 12 levels of Wizard. This gives you plus 10 to the maximum cast level of your spells, specifically Negative Energy Burst and Death Aura. Unless you're playing in an Arcane Destiny, I wouldn't really recommend doing this, and your recommended Destiny is Dreadnought, that you put here for yourself. And so without the extra cash levels, you're cash level 12 Wizard. And so bringing Death Aura up to a cash level of 20 doesn't seem like it's worth it. Same with Negative Energy Burst. So yeah. Oh yeah, and why Empower over Maximize? Yeah, I didn't even notice that. That was a good catch. Good catch. It seems good. Negative spell power is fine. Perfect. Dire Charge is amazing. I think that Great Intelligence is good, but I feel like that there's better feats here, especially considering I don't like Master of the Dead. Also, you don't take Overwhelming Critical for the extra damage, which is really good. And then instead of Great Intelligence, I would probably take something along the lines of probably like Epic Reflexes or Epic Toughness, or not Epic Toughness, Epic Reflexes, something like that. But probably grabbing like Epic Reflexes here, because I think that this is a slightly better feat for you and what you're trying to do. I think it's a little bit better. Just in general. Because your character, in theory, because your intelligence is your saves, you've got a good reflex save. Although this is going to get higher. We'll probably take a look at some of the other abilities and stuff. Yeah, these feats seem, for the most part, fine. Other wizard feats, you don't really need most of this other stuff. You don't need Empower, Extend, and Shoe. Actually, I kind of like Extend on this character because you don't have a lot of extra duration on spells. Depending on how you want to build this character, I would say that if you decided to take this character through as a Fate Singer instead of as a Dreadnought, then you would want to possibly go with the Master of Death, because the thing about Dreadnought is it doesn't give you cash levels, but Fate Singer does give you cash levels. It also gives you 85 universal spell power, and if you're already casting spells with Quicken, because you have the Quicken meta magic, you can get Intensified for an extra 75 spell power on your spells. That gives you 75 more spell power whenever you cast any of your negative bursts or your aura, which snapshots onto you. Plus, you get Extend for free, again, which is pretty nice, so it extends all your spells, and you get the extra melee power and stuff. The only downside, you can't use Strength or Charisma, which is not too happy for this character, although, you know, Turn of the Tide is pretty good. The only other option, unfortunately, there's no, like, the only intelligence-based damage tree that there is Shadow Dancer, which is obviously not where you want to be. You don't really want to be in Shadow Dancer for this build. It's not bad, because you can use the extra melee power, which is pretty good, and you can make good use of the extra intelligence on the side. Plus, you know, just you don't need the shadow form, but Dark Imbuement is a very, very good ability, and with Unarmed, you can always use that extra range to be able to get in on people. Plus Grim Precision for the extra enhancement bypass. I think that Shadow Dancer is definitely a good contender, but Dreadnought is also good because you do get additional damage, plus you get the extra action boost, which you can use for the extra stats. But yeah, yeah, I'm probably going to say that it's better to be in Shadow Dancer than Dreadnought for the purposes of this character, but we'll take a look at some of the other stuff first. Getting ahead of ourselves. But yeah, a lot of the stuff looks pretty good. I'm trying to see if there's anything that I just want to rearrange here, like take one feat and replace it with another. Quicken, Maximize, Overwhelming Critical, all this stuff seems fine. Okay, yeah, that seems fine. Alright, so next step is the Enhancement tree. This is always the hardest part. So let's see here. So number one, you don't need Unholy Avatar. You don't need this because I don't like this ability because you don't deal a lot of negative damage to undead. If you're playing as a spellcaster, don't use Unholy Avatar. Use Meteor Swarm to deal with undead. It's way better. Use Undeath to Death to deal with undead. It's way better. So actually being able to damage monsters with negative spells seems cool. Problematically, there's also a bunch of other issues. One, you don't deal a lot of damage with your spells. Monsters are going to always make their saves because your DCs are very, very low. You have items set up in here? You do have items set up in here. So with your items that you have set up yourself, the DC on some of your spells, let's just take Negative Energy Burst, one of the spells you'll cast to heal yourself, is 61. At endgame, that is never going to land on any monsters, which is fine. It doesn't have to. And I'm talking about, like, unless you're playing on, like, normal difficulty, you'll probably get it to land, but even on hard difficulty, monsters are going to be making their saves pretty often. I get level 30. So, in this scenario, it's actually, you don't want to be doing Unholy Avatar at all. You just want to be hitting people and dealing damage, which is great. That's what your character's good at. Your character's got the fist. You're going to give people the fist. You're going to, teach people what for. And it's going to work out really well for your character. So, this is definitely something that you don't need. Instead, you can take something better, like a more powerful and undead augmentation. You can pick up some intelligence in the tree, all sorts of stuff. But yeah. You and your Skeleton Knight gain 15 PRR. These aren't linked? I thought these were linked. Yeah, that's just 15 physical resistance rating. Damn, that's a pretty sweet ability here. The crit, the negative power is good. All this stuff is really good. The health is not bad for this character. Although, again, as I said, instead of Unholy Avatar, I would rather take an Undead Augmentation, because you get so much good stuff. You get Electrical Absorption, no longer taking extra damage from other things. 15 health for 1 point. 15 MRR and +2 to all saves. Assassinate DCs. 15% Incorporeal Mischance, which is really, really good, because it's very defensive. And this stacks with, like, items. So if you have a 10% Incorporeality, that gives you 25%, which is really good. Necromancy DCs you don't need. The spell power is not very good. So I would say something along the lines of, like, probably Ghost in the Wind for the 15% Incorporeal Mischance is a little bit better. This one you took Inflict Wariness, which of course is the best one to take. If you don't know why, it says your Vorpal melee hits cause energy drain, inflicting a negative level. That is not true. Your Vorpal hits cause your critical hits cause a level drain, which is way better. You go in here for Iron Skin, which is really good. You don't take Smite Tainted Creatures, because that doesn't affect here, so that's great. So this is like a perfect setup. The only difference I would take here is... Oh, can you take Elemental Curatives? Yes, I think you can. Can you take Elemental Curatives if you don't have the feat? The reason why I say this is because this is +1 to hit and damage. So you just take this anyway. It's better than Heal and Intimidate. So there's your 20 PRR. There's 15 PRR there, so that's all good. Character's going to be nice and tanky. You've got your points spent in Harp Agent, which is good. You don't need anything in here, so this is useless. Ninja Spy, again, useless. Harp Agent is important, because you need to make sure you've got intelligence to damage. Go here, please. The skeleton enhancements were linked last time I played?
Received.
Yeah, it must have been changed a long time ago. I'm not even sure. Also, Blairlos, welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Alright, so let's take a look at Eldritch Knight. So you've got 39 points in Eldritch Knight. You take everything up the top here, which is all good. So these are all fantastic. You take Force Point, which is good. You take Transformation, which is good. I would probably take, over Critical Mastery, I would take this. I would take the extra intelligence here. And most importantly, I probably wouldn't even take Mystic Wards, because your character has a magic resistance rating cap of 50. So if I go to the defensive breakdowns, I guess even with the 90 here, which is with your Nihistals stacking up, your character is still going to have... You're still going to be overcapped, probably, on your magic resistance rating. So I would drop the MRR here. And probably drop also the extra crit damage. And then take just more raw stats instead. So grab, like, the Eldritch ability for just the extra intelligence onto this character. Seems pretty good. Actually, yeah, then you don't need to drop 2 points. You just drop 2 points in Mystic Words for that, basically, because you don't need that those extra points. Let's just reset that tree real quick. Everything else is pretty good. I really like Siphoning Strike, or Arcane Siphon, because this gives you a whole bunch of extra damage right away. It bumps up your spell power, and you can siphon people, then pop all your abilities. And again, I'm talking about that snapshotting. And it's also weird because you don't need any of the armor feats, which is just very strange. And you had Knight's Controller, which is perfectly fine, and this, and this. Cool. And then the Pale Master Tree seems pretty good. So your character's, like, hardy and defensive. You get 40 health, 15 health, 20 health. You're picking up 15 health here. So you have, like, a lot of health. So your character's got a lot of health in the tree. Oh, you can actually, if you wanted to get more damage, you could also take Harper Enchantment and grab Eldritch Accuracy here and then spend the 2 points here on Harper Enchantment. But I think really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter too much. Just looking at the Pale Master, Corpse Crafter, and Eternal Fear are linked? Okay, perfect. That's what I thought. I was under the impression that you needed to take Corpse Crafter. I was pretty sure you needed to take that, so thank you for checking that. I appreciate that. Because like I said, I was pretty confident that that was incorrect. So you want to do something like this instead. So the reason why I did this is essentially you're losing out on the PRR, which kind of sucks. But you don't want to use the Corpse Crafter here, because the Corpse Crafter is like you have to spend a bunch of points to get stats you don't particularly need. Instead, grab Intelligence, grab some more health, and take 1 point in the Skeletonite. The Skeletonite is great because you can summon it to pull levers. It is the best lever puller ever. So, highly, highly recommend this character here. Oh, in chat. Twitch chat. Okay, there we go. Okay, that makes sense. And like don't hear. Oh, there. Okay, I didn't hear the tavern music. Okay. And then Shintao, you can't really change. So overall, this seems pretty good. You have a build for the cleric out yet? No, I don't have a build yet. I'm gonna be putting it out tomorrow. Probably tomorrow. And then we go to Dreadnought. Again, you've got your two options. No matter what, you're twisting Marshal him. I don't think you would twist Rain if you have the ability, but no matter what, you're always twisting Marshal him because it's kind of too good not to twist. Another option, in theory, is Grandmaster of Flowers, but your character's not really wisdom-based, so I don't recommend doing that. So yeah, if you wanted, I would say probably either Shadow Dancer or Legendary Dreadnought. For me, I think that Shadow Dancer is probably where you're going to want to go with this character. So number one, you grab the extra intelligence here. You grab Tactician, but you don't need this. Acrobatic, which gives you reflex saves while tumbling, which doesn't matter. Stealthy, which gives you stats, it doesn't matter. This part makes you sad. You don't want any of these abilities, so you just take Shadowlance, which sucks, but, you know, what are you going to do? Grab more intelligence, grab Lithe, because this is +4 reflex saves and +4 armor class, which is pretty good. Grab all of Meld and all of Grim Precision. All these other things are bad, so just grab intelligence. You don't need Sealed Soul to be immune to energy drain, because you're going to be undead, so that's perfectly fine. Why is that doing that? So instead, you can take Executioner, Strike, or Shot if you wanted. You grab Untouchable every time, because it's +1 crit multi, but you're probably just grabbing the intelligence here. And you can put 1 point in Executioner's Strike. This basically gives you an instant kill. It's not going to land all the time, but it does extra damage, and it will land every once in a while. This is based off of your intelligence and your Assassinate DCs. So in theory, if you wanted, you could take Stealthy for the extra Assassinate DCs, which is now that I think about it, probably the smart way to go about it with this character. So let me just do that. So do one of these, grab the Assassinate DCs, grab this, grab this, grab this, grab, Strike. Dark Imbuement, and all this other stuff is bad, so just grab more Lithe. This seems like probably how I would do that. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, this is how I would do it if I was playing in a Shadow Dancer. So the benefits of being in a Shadow Dancer, you pick up a bunch of sneak attack dice for every core, which is nice. You don't need the extra evasion here that you get, but you get a whole bunch of Assassinate DCs, which then is going to work with the Executioner Strike. Because you have high intelligence, and intelligence is your highest stat, this is going to proc pretty reasonably often. Like, more than you would think. It's going to work pretty often. It also gives you a free Dimension Door, which, you know, you can cast a spell, but it's fine. Less melee threat, which is kind of convenient. You get the Shadow Training, which is just press a button for extra sneak attacking. Now you might say to yourself, okay, but I don't sneak attack stuff. That's not what my character does. Don't worry about it. Shadow Mastery, when you roll a 20, you make it so you sneak attack guys anyway. So it doesn't matter. Literally, it doesn't matter. As long as you are, if you're soloing, it's useful. If you're playing in a group, it's useful. There's really no time where Shadow Dancer is bad. So it's pretty sweet, especially if you have any items that have improved Deception on it. It makes it even faster and even more gooder for killing. Granted, Legendary Dreadnought's also good. The benefits of Legendary Dreadnought is you get more raw tankiness in that your physical health is higher. But the downside is you don't have as many evasive bonuses and defenses in this type of character. But there are some things I would change about this character right quick. So for example, you want to grab the action boost. You want to grab the whole ass tactics. Because this is really good. You're stunning people, and you want to get your stuns as high as possible. I don't care too much about critical damage. I think it's probably better to just take more cons so you don't die on this type of character. Although, you You need to spend this point here, this point here, this point. You want to grab the PRR because this dodge actually hits your dodge cap, and your dodge is going to be pretty good. You do this. I think this is going to be a little bit better. Just basically taking points out of critical damage and putting points into tactics. I know the critical damage is really good, but tactics is a little bit better for this type of character. Take Spell Singer to Epic. Should you go Fate Singer or Draconic? I said Magister in my review. Depends on where your DCs are. If your DCs feel low, Magister. If they don't, Draconic. Fate Singer's a trap. Glorified Mage Hands? Exactly. It is. Alright. Yes. And then other than that, I don't really recommend Rain. I don't love it. There's like not a lot of other good things you can twist for either of these trees. What you want is balanced attacks with this type of character. So if you had like 2 more fate points, literally like a couple more. If let's say you level up Divine Crusader a few levels and you get another fate point, then I would use balanced attacks instead. If you can go for this, that would be ideal. So like I said, just take some time at level 20. Just playing. Your character's going to be strong, so take anything. And then you want to go into Primal Avatar. You want to grab balanced attacks here. Because though that way, when you're fighting people, every time you roll a 20, you knock somebody down. Plus, it's +6 to hit, which is like essential for this character build. One of the things you're going to be missing out on this type of character is just hit chance. And again, as far as which Destiny you should play in, I personally think it would probably perform better as a Shadow Dancer, but you can play Dreadnought. But for the purposes of this exercise, we're going to be doing Shadow Dancer to look at this, because I think you're going to get better results out of it. And it's going to be more fun. Plus, you have cool abilities. Dark Imbuement is awesome. If you've ever been frustrated with Monk range and you're like, oh man, I hate that I have to get up close to punch people, screw that. Just Dark Imbuement and punch them from like 30 yards away. And they explode with Unholy damage all the time. It's sick. You do so much extra damage. It's really crazy. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Alright, so we went over all this stuff. Last thing I wanted to go over is some of these other abilities. Again, since the plan is not to play in an Arcane Destiny, you don't want to swap in like the... what do you call it? The Master of the Dead, because again, you don't have enough spell levels. So then there's the Scion of the Shadowfell. Should you use Scion of the Shadowfell? I go back and forth on this one. You get the negative amp, you get the vampirism, and if you're not playing in Reaper mode, the vampirism is actually very noticeable, especially on a fast attacking character like this. So I would say that it depends on your difficulty setting. So Scion of the Shadowfell is good for what you want to do. However, if you want to start playing into Reaper mode and things like that, and some of the higher difficulties, Scion of Arborea is going to be the alternate feat you want to pick here. So this is going to be which one you want to change. Conveniently, this is a very easy change at cap. You just change this whenever you feel like it at level 30. You don't have to do it. Like, there's no special thing. You just talk to the guy and use a Dragon Shard, and you're all good. Okay. I see all of the sets. I'm assuming there's no gear restrictions. So let's make some gear work. Make some work. So this is an intelligence-based melee. And so the Dreadkeeper set actually works out pretty well. So does the Summer set. There's a whole bunch of good stuff you can get out here. In fact, actually, I like the Dreadkeeper set because it gives the crit, the artifact bonus, the intelligence, and the PRR. The artifact bonus to intelligence is actually pretty sweet with this type of character, and the extra crit with the force spell power chance. However, you're missing out on a lot of the melee stats. And the part of the family set is really what you want. So your character did go part of the family, grabbing the Hammer Fist, grabbing the Sigil, grabbing the robes of the Dreadkeeper. Wait, how do you have the 3 part of the family set? Wait, what? What? 1, 2, 3? Ah. So the Platinum Knuckles is part of the family set, but it disables your gloves. So, this does not work like this, unfortunately. If it did, it would. But basically, when you wear the gloves, this happens. The hand wraps overwrite your glove slot. So you can't wear these and gloves to get the set. So that explains where that came from. Okay, so this is going to be essentially like a full rebuild of the gear set. I do think that starting with the part of the family is the right way to go, so we're going to start right there. Now, a lot of you guys might be sick of seeing the part of the family set showing up in every single gear set and DDO. That's not my fault. That's the part of the family set being literally the best item set in the entire game with no exceptions. So, take it up with SSG. So next, you want to make sure you've got like good items and good stats. For this exercise, Blood Sigil Ring is going to be your artifact of choice. Quality Combat Mastery, Quality Deception, Quality Deadly, Intelligence 22 is pretty fantastic. The other option, of course, is the Key of Rukan Drow. necklace artifact. And this artifact is pretty cool because it gives Insightful Accuracy and Insightful Deadly, but you don't need those stats because you're taking... Well, the Insightful Accuracy is actually very good, but you don't need the Insightful Deadly because you are already taking... what do you call it? You're already grabbing out of the... know the angles. So you don't need the Insightful Deadly. So you're like, I don't need this actual effect. So that's not too bad. So the ring... is a little bit better. It gives you the quality deadly. It gives you the intelligence that you want. It gives you the combat mastery. It's all pretty good. So outside of that, you also need to need to make sure you have your nullification, your void lore, all the negative stats. So your character actually can use another weird ring that's very helpful that a lot of people don't think about, which is the winter one. The Ring of Winter's Chill. This character gets access to this. Oh wait, it's not glaciation. Oh, is it the fall ring? Oh, no, man. It's the Fall's Decay that gives nullification? Okay, never mind. This item sucks. God damn it. I was about to get really excited about, like, having that effect, but unfortunately you don't get that effect. Dire Wolf Belt is a perfectly good belt here. Dire Bear Belt's probably a little bit better, but that's not too bad. You want to have a lot of the negative energy stats. So in here, this is where you're going to want to pick up the... Where's that negative effect? Bottle of Smoke. No, not Icon of the Bitter Wind. Deep Promise Onyx, because this gives the Insightful negative amp, the Quality negative amp, the Quality Intelligence, and the False Life. Then all you need is actual negative amp. You don't need Insightful or anything else. So you need an item that gives you negative amplification, and I believe there is a cloak that does that. Just Hollow Phase Cloak. Scarlet Phase... No. No, there isn't. Which one gives negative amplification? I really thought there was something that gave negative amp. Or is it the belt that gives negative amp? Festering Mummy Wrappings? That's not a good belt. That's not good. Is it just nothing? Yeah, the Black Velvet's here. Yeah, that's it. There's a necklace, but then part of the family, exactly. Yeah, because there is the Winter Court necklace, I believe, which gives negative amp. I'm going to try something weird. What if... you didn't use the part of the family set, but you use the spring set instead? So, like, yeah, you're picking up Crown of Butterflies. Oh, that item is so bad. But it gives you Crown of Summer, which is actually not that bad. And you grab, like, a lot of the other spring sets. Because you get the, because it would give you the sneak attack dice, the double strike, the double shot, the melee power. Plus it gives you dodge cap, artifact damage versus the helpless, and missile deflection, all of which are like good stats that you would want. The only issue is that actually getting spring items is hard, because you've got like Magmatic Grasp, which is an artifact that you don't particularly want to use on this character. The Gloves of Tranquility, which is an item that you don't particularly want to use on this character. Although the Quelling Strikes is okay, the rest of that stuff is like not that great. You can't use the other spring item. What are the spring boots? Spring. You've got the Thorn Shoes, which gives Wisdom, which is okay, and Natural Armor, Bloody Thorns. And then the Flower Boots, which gives Healing, Lore, Devotion, and Quality Elemental Resistance. You don't even want that. You have to use, like, the Bloody Thorns boots. And then you can't use one of the artifacts. So, like, in this build, a perfect artifact would be the Orb. The new Orb, Heresome's Fiddle. But, like, it's got Spring and Winter on it. So then that wouldn't work either. Yeah, I think that's just going to have to get eaten. That's a sacrifice. Yeah, because the only other items I can think of that do negative amp, other than the Winter Court necklace, I think Family Blessing is also better here. But yeah, the only other item that could work other than the Winter Court necklace is the, you've got all the double strike. Now your MRR is 45, but that's not including Fate Singer, which is going to push it up a little bit. We can get some more MRR fit into the build. Con Insightful Intelligence. Yeah, so you've got Intelligence, Quality, You replace this with a Deep Snow. You have like a Deep Snow set. Crown of Butterflies, obviously, this is not a good item. How do you get 4-piece Winter? Can you craft a negative amp item? You can probably, possibly Kenneth craft one, but yeah. Tinker's set is nuts if you have access to it. Tinker's what? Goggles, and what's the other piece? It's gloves, isn't it? It's gloves. The Tinker set is okay, but it doesn't really... I mean, the thing about the part of the family set is it gives you Seeker, Insightful Double Strike. You don't need the Insightful Deadly, but the Kenneth Combat Infusion, which actually you don't need that either. So it's the Quality Assassinate, which is nice. Insightful Armor Piercing, 16. Deadly, Double Strike. A lot of good stats. Titania's Glory. That one's not great either. That one's not great either. I'm trying to figure this out. The best non-armor, non-weapon, regular, negative amp. Yeah. You don't really want to wear the mummy wrappings because the Direwolf belt is so good for this character, granting Deception, Insightful Seeker, and Shield bonus, all stats that you don't get anywhere else. And it fits in really well with the build. You don't need the Shattered Onyx, though, so that's a free ring that you can just put into whatever. But you've only got 2-piece Winter set. Is this possible to get a 3-piece Winter set? Also for a weapon, for hand wraps, if you don't know what to use, there's a lot of good ones in here. If you can get one of the raid ones, go for it. Duality is going to be good with this character. Fetters of the Forge Wraith is the best for this character, but both of these are hard to come by. If you have neither of them, then just use the Morning Lords one. But it's Morning Lords, then Duality, then Fetters for this build. But Fetters is the ideal candidate right here. Give me a Fetters of the Forge Wraith. Yeah, I think this character is not going to be a Winter user. Because there's no way to get all the stats that you need into one build. So, like, the Deep Snow Boots are just good, and you'd want to keep these. But I don't think there's a way to get it in there. I think you're just kind of stuck. Then you get yourself a Celestial Ruby Ring, because it gives you Stunning and Accuracy, and it gives you Ghostly, all effects that you did not have on your character. And so yeah, so this is the Stunning, Accuracy, and Ghostly. 3 stats that you did not have that are very helpful. And then on top of that, you get to pick an Augment. You could technically use Intelligence on this and use a different artifact if you wanted. Isn't there an artifact that grants amp? Or is it like, is Dr. LaRue's thing? I think it's a necklace. Yeah, Dr. LaRue's Curious Implant. But it's just, oh, it's just exceptional and equipped amp. I've never seen anyone use this. It's a neat artifact, but I've never seen anyone use it ever. Yeah. If you could fit in this character, the Prince's Gauntlet, let's go Summer instead. But this character does not work well with Summer. Because this would give you the Lifeblood of the Undead Prince. And then you would basically replace your chest piece with like another thing. So another cloth robe. And you'd use like the Feyweed robe. But like the Firefly Garb. Which is a spring item. No, you wouldn't use a spring item. Robe of the Autumn Winds? No. Robe of the Dreadkeeper? No. Garb of the Spring Winds? Wait. Oh, the Firefly Garb. This is a summer item. It's categorized as spring, but this is a summer item. Anyway. And then as a helmet, where do you want to end up here? So you've got the Direwolf Belt, Black Velvet Capelet. Black Velvet Capelet you actually don't need. This one doesn't really give you a lot of different stats, so I'd probably just go with something else. You also can't use the Cloak of Winter. You could always use the Cloak of Summer, or the Cloak of Spring, or the Cloak of Balance. All of these things are perfectly fine. But you already have all the stats that you want. But the problem with the Black Velvet Capelet is you already have these stats. The only thing you don't have is the Profane Well-Rounded on this character build. Because you already get it from the Deep Promise Onyx, which is pretty good. Yeah, Summer is Fey Twisted one. Yeah, exactly. So I would probably replace this. If you wanted, you could also replace this. So you've got the... And this would actually be better for the character anyway. Use like the Cloak of Summer, which then gives you the Double Strike here. And then instead of the Family's Blessing, which is harder to get, you can just use the regular Family Recruit Sigil, which gives you the armor piercing as well. So you got armor piercing, and you have double strike, and you have insightful double strike, and you have the insightful armor, or because you don't have armor piercing or insightful armor piercing. Yep. And then Umber Brim is also a good option. It gives you insightful accuracy, which you don't have, insightful deception, which you don't have, and the quelling strikes, which is pretty good. This kind of rounds out the character. The only downside is there's 0 MRR in this character now, which makes me hella sketched. How do you fix that? Having a little bit is fine, but having none is a big problem. And this is not a, oh, you just augment it and it goes away type problem. This is not a augment and the problem it disappears type of thing. Because the Umber Brim is nice because it's the profane well-rounded and the insightful accuracy, but the opposite question of using the Arcsteel Brim as a swap for the magical sheltering, insightful sheltering, and will saves is really, really nice. There's no Slave Lord's boots. They are now Deep Snow boots. So this character has con, insightful con, and quality con. Fix it with Filigrees and Augments. Do you? It's a lot of MRR to fix with Filigrees and Augments. There's a lot of MRR to fix with Filigrees and Augments. What goes on here? Strength, Dex, Intelligence. Part of me wants to say use the Radiant Ring of Terra Valestis here for the quality, accuracy, and deadly. Because this one doesn't give quality accuracy, it gives quality deception. Instead, throw the intelligence on here. So you lose 1 point of intelligence, but you gain 22 points of wisdom, which gives you more armor class and more defense, and also a big bonus to your saves. So this character's at 105. That seems low. Why is the armor class so low? Oh, it's not including a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, okay, that's fine. There's also, instead of this one, there's also the Cloak of Spring, which is Dex, Insightful Dex, and Parrying. I believe your character already has Parrying. Yeah, from this. The Necromancer's Bracers for the Insightful Sheltering, but yeah. Yeah, if you wanted, you could also, instead of the Arcsteel Brim, also depending on the character, the quality of character that you're planning on running, you also don't need that much magic resistance rating. People like kind of get really stressed about magic resistance rating and assume that it's like the be all end all. But like, so you only have 11 right here with just your Filigrees put on. If you happen to have like a couple of these like rared instead, you just like rare them up, which is very easy to acquire. If you're on Argoness, and I'll give you them for free because I have so many Nihilsteel rares, I don't even care. People will just give these to you. You're already moving up a bit in MRR. And then if you grab a Sapphire of Defense, and you put in like a 32 defense item, then you already have 51. And honestly, you don't even need Nihilsteels, if I'm being totally honest. Nihilsteels is only good if you're raiding. If you're not raiding, if you're just doing regular content, you don't really care about Nihilsteels for the most part. Or melee focused version. Well, this character gets a lot of good offensive stats. Just not as many defensive stats. The downside of going intelligence instead of wisdom is that your character is missing out on a lot of the defensive stats of having like a higher wisdom. But character's still reasonably okay. Your saves are a little bit lower than I would love to see. You also don't have saves on here, so this is where you would also grab like a blue Sapphire Resistance, get like 11 saving throws in there. Bam. There you go. Help you out a bit. There you go. Now your saves are a little bit higher. Stuff like that. And then on this character build, depending on what you're planning on playing in, is if you're playing in Legendary Dreadnought, Prowess is the option, but your character is not in Legendary Dreadnought currently, the way I have it set up. And also, you only have a few action boosts, so that is where I would probably recommend going with Shattered Device for the extra stats. So a Shattered Device MRR, Shattered Device PRR, Shattered Device melee power, Shattered Device attack and damage, and a Shattered Device armor piercing. Get those stats in there. There's also some of the rare Filigrees. Obviously, swap out one of these if you have it, because you can get. Here's it. Bravery Throughout and Shattered Device 6 PRR, which is even better. So those are also good options. And again, Nihilsteels, I probably wouldn't even use Nihilsteels, if I'm being honest, with this character. Use something else. So, you can go with, whoops. You can grab some Intelligence Filigrees if you wanted. So, for example, there is the Eye of the Beholder Inevitable Grave Filigrees that are like dual between the two, and the Inevitable Grave is actually not too bad. It's not as bad as you think it might be, because if you happen to have a couple of these, if you do some raiding, or if you don't even do that at all, Inevitable Grave is cool because it gives you Amp. Is it the Inevitable Grave? It's the Inevitable Grave. You can get negative healing Amp as well, which is convenient. For one Filigree, 20% Amp, like not too bad. And again, that's always an option. Yeah, Filigrees are weird on this character. And then you also have Zarigans, which gives you more stats. You have Voltaic Experiment, which gives you more intelligence and Double Strike. It's like the Zarigans, or not the Zarigans, the Voltaic Experiment is kind of neat because it gives you universal spell power as well as Double Strike and Double Shot. It's designed to be like a hybrid Filigree. So if you have all three of these, so you have like, I don't think there is a, those here. Zarigans. Oh, and it is Voltaic Experiment. Yeah. You can even do a couple of these if you wanted. And, get hybrid on both of these. Voltaic Experiment and get like Double Strike. Now your character's got some extra intelligence, you got some extra other stats. You know, obviously you wanna rare these up when you can. It's not too bad, you got some stuff. Yeah. So the way I would basically put this character is I would say you wanna have the Umber Brim on most of the time. And your MRR is gonna be a struggle, but that's where you can get some Filigrees to kind of fill in the slot. However, you can also have a couple swappies. So just have both the Dire Wolf and the Dire Bear belt. So when you're actually, in combat and fighting some stuff, you can just use you just swap between the two and say, okay, I need some extra magical resistance rating. Swap in the Dire Bear belt. You lose a little bit of damage, but then you gain that MRR up to cap. And when you don't need it, you don't need it. But this way, you get more health. So you've got more just raw stats. So your health is at 1569. Character's a little bit more defensive in melee combat. You can fight some stuff. And yeah. 161 to hit. It's not the best, but this is also not including your stealth bonuses. So when you're hitting monsters with a sneak attack, you're plus 25 to that as well, which is pretty good. Double Strike, 73%. Fortification Bypass, 88%. So yeah, your character is pretty good in terms of some of its offensive capabilities. You just got to make sure you're a little mindful. Also, your dodge could probably use some work. Man, where do you get the dodge? This is why playing an intelligence-based monk not the best. Wisdom-based is so much easier to score. Because Wisdom-based monk can actually use the items from the spring set, which is the crazy part. Yeah, and if any of these things get mythic, your character is even stronger. But this is probably where I would end here. Character is going to be fun to play, pretty strong. You can get a dodge augment, because you don't even have dodge. There's literally no dodge in the characters. You just get a dodge augment, and you're up to the cap. And dodge augments, you can find them on the auction house, all that stuff. That's how I would touch up the Vamp Monk. Hopefully these touch-ups help you out a bit. A bigger touch-up would be completely getting rid of the intelligence and going capping out wisdom and going wisdom base, but that is a different build. Also, it would be 12 wizard, 6 monk, 2 favored soul, and it would be a different build. It would also be a much stronger build. I kind of want to build that character.